We, you know,
Yes.
we can.
So just let me know when I can start sharing the screen.
Right away. Right away. Because everything is online.
Can you guys see me?
Bro. Yeah. So, Dr. Narula,
Yes.
just bear with us for another 3-4 minutes.
No problem. You take your time.
Yeah.
Just let me know when I can click the link.
In the meantime, you can start sharing your slides maybe.
My slides are ready. I just have to share the screen and that's all.
Okay.
Yeah, I will do this lecture in 2 sets. And the first set is ready to go. And the second set will not take any more than 30 seconds to go. What a technology we have these days, man.
Good evening, one and all present here. I, on behalf of Incd 2022, welcome you all for the public lecture session. Now I would like to take the names of chairpersons of this session. The Professor B.B. Agrawal. Professor Agrawal is serving as a professor and funding director, Inflammation Research Center, San Diego, California, USA. His area of interest is cytokine research, molecular therapeutics, cell and molecular growth regulation. He did his PhD from University of California, Berkeley. He has around 136,000 citations, and he has published more than 700 research papers. He is also chief of the cytokine research section in the Department of Experimental Therapeutics at University of Texas, MD Anderson Cancer Center. Our next chairperson is Dr. Subhash C. Gupta. He is currently working as additional professor and head Department of Biochemistry, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Guwahati, Assam. His area of interest is acidic microenvironment contributing to pathogenesis to different cancers and cancer prevention, chemoprevention, role of cancer stem cells, exosomal microRNAs, and long non-coding RNAs in the regulating tumor development. He has published more than 111 peer-reviewed articles in a highly acclaimed journal and written several books. Now I would like to hand over my mic to our esteemed chairpersons. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Amol. And Dr. Narula is there or not?
Yeah,
I'm there. I'm there.
Okay. So, good morning, sir. We are here in India. So, from India, good afternoon and good morning from USA. And it is our great pleasure and honor to introduce the speaker of this session, Dr. Achran Narula. He is basically an organic chemist. He has over 45 years of professional experience He obtained his PhD with one of the renowned person in India, Dr. Sukhdev. And after completing his PhD, Dr. Narula moved to United States, where he has been continuing for more than 5 decades. During 5 decades of professional experience, Dr. Narula has worked as a faculty member in globally recognized universities such as Duke University and University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. In his extensive research career, he has published several articles, and since last 2 decades, he has been running his own company, and that is called Narula Research at Chapel Hill in North Carolina. And his responsibility basically includes research and development of dietary supplements for the attenuation, regulation, and resolution of chronic inflammation. His work is directly relevant to the patients, and that you will see here. And his work has saved life of several patients. Dr. Narula has designed more than 50 dietary supplements, and each one stands on its own scientific merit. And in fact, I have already witnessed his lectures at least 2 places. And from my own experience, I can say that his work is directly relevant to the patients. And with this is few comments, I request Professor Narula to start the lecture, please. And about lecture, you have 40 minutes and then 10 minutes for the question and answer discussion.
Okay, thank you, Subhash. Appreciate your introduction. And now let me share the screen, okay? Okay, let's see here.
Slides.
Okay,
We can see your slides, sir.
you can see my slide, wonderful.
Yeah.
So let's see one more thing here. I would like to get a spotlight. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for really giving me this opportunity to speak before you and this distinguished audience. And I'm sorry I'm not physically present there in Delhi University, but never mind, the technology did allow you to give a talk anywhere. So as my slide shows here, my topic of the subject is inflammation, immunity, and chronic diseases. When the standard of care has been exhausted, what is next? Successful outcome with botanicals. And this work, of course, I'm presenting at the 5th International Conference on Nutraceuticals and Chronic Diseases, which is being held at Delhi University, and today is October 8th. So the next slide shows, oh, let me move these away here, hold on. We don't need this anymore, okay. All right. So the agenda of my talk really is first to thank certain people. Number one, Professor Alok C. Bharti and the organizers for the invitation, and of course the chairpersons, Professor Agarwal, Professor Gupta, and the session coordinator, Dr. Amod Kumar. I will then offer a small tribute, and then I will discuss some successful outcomes with ancient biologics, and they will be under subject heading a chemist's unexpected success in IBD, which is the ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, and then familial adenoposis polyposis and colon cancer. And then I will discuss work on osteoarthritis, what the standard of care is, where the failure of resolution of inflammation takes place, and the origin of chronic inflammatory diseases and the untold human misery. And if time permitting, I will also discuss a little bit about cancer immunotherapy and anti-tumor immunity. A tribute. Narula Research wishes to pay a tribute to the researchers who study the biology of human diseases using experimental animals, but keeping in mind the key differences between mouse and human immunology. There's a lot of difference between the two. So people should not mix them, okay? And the US National Library of Medicine database, PubMed. And then the sages and scholars of the traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. And of course, my Professor Sukhdev, for being my teacher as well as a mentor by way of being a luminary example of inspiration and support. And his recent contributions are a prime Ayurvedic plant drugs published in 2012, and then an Ayurvedic herbs in healthy aging published in 2014. And mind you, Professor Sukhdev is now plus 98 years of age and still active. Here is my picture with Professor Sukhdev taken in 2018. And I really am very disappointed that I'm not in India because I would have liked to go and see him again. Hopefully we can do it another time. Okay. But then when did the unexpected beginning start? What's the origin of it? I believe its origin is in these two publications that I published when I was in the Australian National University at the Research School of Chemistry. One publication was published in 1981 in Journal of American Chemistry Society, and the second was published in 1984 in the Journal of Biological Chemistry. These two papers are very fundamental because this work provided a general strategy to design inhibitors of the biosynthesis of terpenoids, and terpenoids are a huge class of natural products. Now, what was this work about? This work laid a foundation that this compound number 3, which is 24-methyl-25-azacycloartenol, which is the analog of a carbonium ion high energy intermediate, as shown in structure 1 here, is a potent inhibitor of S-endocyl L-methionine sterol C24 methyl transfer in higher plant cells. This work provides a strategy where biological carbocations can be mimicked by an ammonium function, or by an N-oxide, or by a sulfonium function, or by a phosphonium or arsonium. And we have published all that work in the Journal of Biological Chemistry. So this work has many, many applications, and there are many people who are finding applications for this work. I met Professor Lawrence E. Gilbert, Chairman, Department of Biology at UNC Chapel Hill, and I discussed with him the possibility of designing inhibitors of the biosynthesis of juvenile hormone in insects. This is a very important project because insects cause most damage to the crops during larval stage. And Professor Gilbert is perhaps, I'm sure in the biology at the zoology department at the university, probably everybody knows about him because he is an extremely well-known insect physiologist who, however, passed away in 2017, but we remained very good friends. When I got into the lab and I started working on designing inhibitors of juvenile hormone synthesis, I knew that neem has a good properties in terms of insect pest management. And so I started preparing an extract from the neem leaf, and we had some very, very good results. I showed the results to him, and he said, "Oh, Acharan, you really don't need another publication. Go and talk to the News and Observer, our local paper." So I went to see them, and they came to my office, and we wrote a good article called World Discovering the Merits of Wonder Tree, and that was published in the Sunday edition of February 5th, 1995 in the News and Observer, which is the main paper in Raleigh. This article was spread over 3 pages. And then the 3rd page showed that neem research expands as science pursues folklore. And in this section here, pharmacological research shown from here to here, I put it there, pharmacological research appears to back the claim of Indian folklore. Chronic skin conditions ranging from acne and psoriasis to ringworm, warts, and scalp-related problems are known to improve with substances based on the tree. Infections in the mouth cavity leading to tooth decay, sore gums, and bleeding essentially disappear with regular usage of aqueous neem leaf extract as a mouthwash. Now, this is a very important information because when it was read by one gentleman in our area called Johnston County in Princeton, North Carolina, this lady, her husband read that, and he gave her this article. He said, "Go and meet this man," because this woman, her name is Rose Rhodes, she was dying from ulcerative colitis. And 3 doctors had told her that she would never be well. So she comes into my office and asks me to help her. Now, mind you, I'm a chemist, and I have not a faintest of idea how to help somebody with colitis, which is a serious, serious, major inflammatory bowel disease. Nonetheless, she insisted that I help her, and at least give her the neem leaf. So cut the long story short, I participated in her health recovery, and boy, she got better. And when she got better, a huge article appeared in our paper, Winston-Salem Journal, on Tuesday, January 23rd, 1906. And this article has become a classic in North Carolina. And I will share with you in a few minutes how it saved the lives of several people. Okay. So this unexpected success sparked my genuine interest in the study of inflammation, ulcerative colitis, and immunology, as well as traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. Mind you, I'm an organic chemist. Okay. So for me, it was a total change of career. Once I was successful with Rose Roads, another woman, 46 years old, came to me who had a FAP gene positive, and she developed several colon polyps in her colon. And that the outcome of such a patient is that they have a 100% chance of developing colorectal cancer. Now, when this person came to see me, I said, look, I really can't help you. He said, please help me, please help me. I said, okay, let's see what we can do. Now, I was at that time starting to read about immunology and inflammation. And I had a very good book in my hand, which I got, which is called Inflammation, the Clinical Correlates. And that book had a very good chapter on FAP gene and what it does. So I found out that molecularly, going from a single pre-neoplastic cell with an APC mutation, you develop an aberrant crypt foci, the ACF. And this crypt now has high levels of TNF alpha, interleukin 17, interleukin 23, interferon gamma, IL-6, and high expression of transcription factor NF-kappa B and STAT3. Boy, at the time, I was knowledgeable enough about natural products that I thought I could put together a product that can handle this thing. Now, if a few other mutations take place, like a KRAS, SMAD4, and P53, then you have a full-blown cancer. Now, such patients are therefore advised to undergo total colostomy. Okay. So, keeping this in mind and the molecule that I was trying to inhibit, I designed a product called ITUS Care. And ITUS Care was developed to inhibit the biology of pro-inflammatory chemokines, that is the chemotactic cytokines that mediate inflammation and thus alleviate and relieve human suffering. And this was written in a Neuro Research Education Notes on May 2002. In fact, it is a registered trademark for me for now last 20 years. The second product we made was Aristafala. As the word Arista stands, Arista means reliever of sickness, and Phala means fruits. And this is based on a famous Ayurvedic medicine called Triphala. But the difference here is that Triphala has some shortcomings. And so when we made this product, Aristafala, it brought enormously good regularity, and people just love this product. In fact, some people give to their family as a Christmas gift. Now, with this success, with this patient who had an FAP gene positive patient, a 19-year-old girl from Scarborough, North Carolina, who was the UNC Department of Gastroenterology patient and was about to get her colon removed, her mother approached me to see if I can help her. And I did. And the result was that it started a collaboration between me and Professor Balfour Sarder, who is the director of the Center for Inflammatory Bowel Disease at UNC School of Medicine, Department of Gastroenterology. And we published a paper, Curcumin blocks cytokine-mediated NF-kappa B activation and pro-inflammatory gene expression by inhibiting inhibitory factor IKB kinase activity. Now, this paper is a paper where I think Professor Bharat Agarwal can confirm it or deny it. This was the first paper where curcumin was shown to inhibit NF-kappa B in the intestinal cells. Okay. And this has continued to be a very good collaboration on me with Dr. Christian Jobin, who is now a professor in University of Florida at Gainesville. And we have published many papers together. With this success, another woman, 43 years old, who had a 17 years history of ulcerative pancreatitis, she showed up on my desk. She had failed the standard of care. And now you see, we're looking out to get her colon removed. was in tremendous stress, extreme stress. And when she came to see me, I said to her, I said, look, you really need to start meditating and do deep breathing so that you can calm down your central nervous system. And for that, you need a spiritual invocation. So I gave her a spiritual invocation, and that was, I am a child of God, complete, whole, and healed. Because in me, God's love is perfected and joy is established without any opposite. Because I'm the home of God's grace. For Lord, bless me health, prosperity, peace of mind, and contentment. And she started invoking this invocation and then breathing this energy, holding that energy in her head and gently releasing to invoke the energy again. And she told me that this became a habit with her. Interestingly, I also suggested to her that she not eat raw vegetables or fruits and avoid high meat intake and avoid raw sugar, no soft drinks, no beer, wine, or alcohol, but instead take basmati rice, butter, mung beans, whole milk yogurt, and ripe bananas. Now, and she was only given 2 products, Arishtaphala and Mucosa Wise. And I will share with you in a few minutes what Mucosa Wise is, okay? Now, moong dal. India is known to eat moong dal. People eat it, but it is not just a folklore. The aqueous extract of moong bean coat is highly protective even against sepsis. And there's a beautiful paper published in the Evidence-Based Complementary Modern Medicine in 2012. Likewise, it has a mung bean extract has an inhibitory activity due to the constituent Vitaxin and isobitaxin on the formation of advanced glycation product. This is very important because advanced glycation product has a role even in Alzheimer's disease. Likewise, it's also useful for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is called NASH. Why and how it does that? It does that because these compounds, Vitaxin and isobitaxin, they inhibit the generation of endogenous reactive oxidants and electrophiles, and therefore provide protection to the cells from oxidative injury. Very, very useful product. Interestingly, mung bean protein supplement improves muscular health in healthy, unreactive vegetarian adults. So it is not just a veggie dal, it's really a medicine. Now, as I said, that we use 2 products to help these people. And one was Mucosa Wise and the second was Arishtaphala. Now, what is Mucosa Wise? Mucosa Wise was designed to alleviate human suffering that is caused by a breach in the integrity of the mucosal barrier that normally protects the host from a variety of injuries, and Arishtaphala aims to promote regularity. It should be noted that the mucosal surfaces of the body, that is the surface lining the digestive, respiratory, that is nasal cavity, sinuses, lungs, bronchial tubes, etc., and urogenetical system are the primary site for the pathogen entry into the host body. Now, going forward, in August 2013, a well-known physician from our area, Dr. Mark McClure, wrote a letter to me that he would like to come and visit with me. I said, okay, come over. So when he came, he saw this picture hanging on one of our walls. He said, Acharan, what is this? So I explained to him the story of this woman. And he said, can you speak to her? I said, sure. So I called her and they spoke for about 30 minutes when I was in my own office. Then he wrote a 3-page article entitled Nature Botanical Medicine in a magazine called Health and Healing. And this magazine has a circulation of nearly 70,000 people. So even though, you see, I don't advertise my work, it gets around. Okay, I've spent not a dime on advertising my work. I don't have a website, I don't have a YouTube. So therefore, my work is done by my clients, okay, by the friends of Nura Research. And this article appeared in 3 pages. And I don't need to go through this because the point is this, you see, that the goal of complementary medicine is not to treat a disease, but to restore balance in the body by restoring the natural healing capacity of the body. Dr. Nura embraces this tenet in the credo that is embossed on each of his products, serving the divine in the heart of man. We bring gifts of health to life. Now, few years later, I visited with my old friend Rose Rhodes. And here's a picture of mine with her in her home in 2018, because he invited us at the Christmas lunch. And then December 15th, we went to see her, and she continues to eat a few leaves of neem every day for the last 20 years. And this neem tree that you see here is in her sunroom, and it has a fat trunk, okay? Because the tree is a bonsai. It's a small tree, even though it's pretty old. In the Sanskrit language, neem is called arishta, which means reliever of sickness. Now, a story which is very, very compelling, and that is about a story of Norma. She's 4 feet 10 inches tall, normal body weight 93 pounds, diagnosed in 2006 with intractable osteoarthritis and at 52 years of age. By 2012, she's reduced to a body weight of 73 pounds, failed the standard of care treatment but refused biologics due to the possibility of developing cancer. Despondent, Norma returned home June 11, 2012 from the hospital to die at age 58. While cleaning out a file cabinet, Norma discovered a 23 January 1996 newspaper article in the Winston-Salem Journal about a lady whose osteoarthritis had been healed with the help of Dr. Nulla from Chapel Hill. Norma contacts Dr. Nulla by mail, June 12th to 15th, 2012. Then I recommended to her that she see a doctor of internal medicine in Conneaut, North Carolina, because I recommended this person. I knew this person very well, and he's a good doctor. After a thorough evaluation, he recommended changes in diet and 4 Nulla research supplements. The changes in diet are similar that I have recommended to other people. 4 Nulla research supplements, Sanchi, to stop intestinal bleeding. I like to make a little point about this product, Sanchi. Sanchi is a traditional Chinese medicine in Chinese medicine. This is a great product because it's root. You don't have to extract it. Just take the root powder. And this root powder, taken as a capsule, would stop the bleeding if anywhere there's a bleeding, and it will dissolve the blood clot into the blood clot. It's a very, very unique product, Sanchi. So it was given to her to stop intestinal bleeding, Copterlin, mucosa-wise, and immunopad to address her intestinal inflammation. In 4 to 8 weeks' time, she regained her normal bowel function with no bleeding, diarrhea, bloating, or pain. And here are the 4 products she took. Now, on September 29th, 2014, Norma wrote to me, "It is so wonderful to be able to go places and not have to seek the bathroom immediately, to not have pain or gas, and to not look like a skeleton. I'm back to 93 pounds again." I related this story with Dr. McClure, and Dr. McClure interviewed her and prepared another article in the magazine Health and Healing. And it was very well read article. So Dr. McClure wrote, "Norma attributes her salvation first to God, and then to her incredible husband, family, and friends, and of course to Dr. Nulla's supplements. And the blessing continues. She credits 3 other Nulla research supplements for helping control her arthritis, which is itis wise, elevated cholesterol, which is berberine, and support for her tendon, sinew wise." On February 4th, 2020, Dr. Nulla sent a photo to Norma that had both Dr. Nulla and Norma in it. And this picture was taken on the 24th January 2019. And remember this picture. Picture became very, very important for her because it saved her life. I've covered her face because, it is not good to give pictures of people if they have not been publicly discussed. In the case of Rose Rhodes, that's not an issue, okay? So on February 5th, 2020, Norma replied, "Whoa, thank you for the memories. I thank the Lord every time I think about how the journey ended. Blessings. I pray that you and your wife are well. Another blessing to have each other." Thus, the health of the gut-brain axis is established. Now, as you will see, I've not discussed anything about the biology of this disease, what goes on, how everything is happening. But fortunately, anybody interested can look at 2 videos, and they're available on YouTube. One is called Immunology of the Gut Mucosa, and the second is called Innate Lymphoid Cells. These are beautiful videos And within a matter of 20 minutes, you see, you can learn a lot that you may not learn in 10 years. Okay. I wish these videos were available like 20 years ago, but they were not. So next thing I want to share with you is the second section of my talk. And let me share my screen here. Hold on a minute here. Share screen. Oh. Stop share. I will have, can I leave the meeting for a minute? Share. I can't understand that. I can't share this. What's going on here?
Is there some issue with the slides?
Yeah, I'm afraid I have to stop the share. You are screen sharing, but you see, I have to go to my folder. Okay. So let's see, stop the share. And let's see what's going on here. Hold on. I'll be back in a minute, okay? All right. Now I can go back to Zoom. Yes. Okay. Now I will start the share again. And now we are ready here. Okay. So this is the second section of my talk, okay, which has to do with osteoarthritis and inflammation and the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs and their side effects. It's clear to everybody that inflammation is the root cause of most diseases. Arthritis, what is the standard of care for it? Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, corticosteroids, and knee replacement. And nowadays, more than 200,000 knee replacements are done per year. Some are quite successful, some are not. But it's all due to pain, because there's a lot of pain involved, and pain is a more terrible law of mankind than even death itself. And here are the strategies that are used to control pain: use of NSAIDs, corticosteroids, antidepressants, anticonvulsants, and then finally narcotics. But unfortunately, not all the patients achieve meaningful pain from both acute and chronic inflammation. Corticosteroids, if used carefully, have potential benefits in the regulation of inflammation, but their daily use and high dose is not advised because of the severe side effects that are now described by the mnemonic Cushingoids. That is, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 words, and they're shown here: cataract, ulcers, the skin thinning, hypertension, hirsutism, immune suppression and infections, necrosis of femoral heads, glucose elevation, osteoporosis, obesity, impaired wound healing, and depression and mood swings. So a lot of problems. Now, what about the adverse effects of NSAIDs? Well, COX-2 selective NSAID, the pain and arthritis relieving medicine drug Vioxx, was actually voluntarily withdrawn from the market due to the safety concerns of an increased risk of cardiovascular events, according to an alert from MedWatch, the Food and Drug Administration Safety Information and Reverse Event Reporting Program. And that was sent out by Merck. There thus appeared a article in our paper that loss of Vioxx is a blow to patients who suffer from arthritis. I wrote a letter to the editor saying, regarding your October 1 coverage of the withdrawal of the arthritis drug Vioxx, I for one do not believe the loss of Vioxx is a blow to patients who suffer from arthritis. The justification for development of these drugs, the justification for development of COX-2 selective drugs, Vioxx or Celebrex, was based on the recognition that the gastro and renal toxicity associated with the use of traditional NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, was caused by the inhibition of the constitutively expressed COX-1 enzyme. Therefore, during the launch phase of Vioxx and Celebrex, it was loudly proclaimed that constitutively expressed COX-1 enzyme perform vital housekeeping functions. And since COX-2 enzyme is induced during an inflammatory stimulus and primarily in immune cells, it was hoped that the selective COX-2 inhibitors would be free of the toxicity associated with older NSAID. Unfortunately, the fact now show it to be otherwise. Like COX-1, COX-2 is also custodially expressed in certain tissues, that is, the endothelium and kidney. Since housekeeping genes are custodially expressed, that is, they are always turned on, it implies that custodially expressed COX-2 also performs many vital housekeeping functions. Disrupting such functions by the use of NSAID for the sake of pain relief is fraught with many ill health effects, including the continuing progression of the underlying inflammatory disease. In light of this, the use of NSAID for the treatment of arthritis deserves to be reevaluated. The writer is a former biology professor at UNC Chapel Hill and heads a health food supplement company. The adverse effects of NSAIDs are many. They arise because NSAIDs inhibit both COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes that are custodially expressed in different tissues and produce prostaglandins essential to homeostasis. Thus, PGs perform many essential housekeeping functions, like NSAIDs, Aleve, ibuprofen are dual COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitors and cause gastrointestinal, mucosal injury, renal and hepatotoxicity, antiplatelet effects, and bleeding, oxidative stress, mesenchymal stem cell toxicity. And NSAID Celebrex is a selective COX-2 inhibitor, inhibits bone repair, cause cardiovascular and renal toxicity, and interference with resolution of inflammation. How come? COX-2 derived 15-deoxy-delta-12-4 prostaglandin G, that is 15-DPGJ2, the structure is shown here, that is produced locally in inflamed cells and tissues, is intimately involved in the resolution phase of inflammation. There's a beautiful review article in Biochemical Pharmacology if somebody wants to read it. And the issue here is this, that during acute inflammation and resolution, there's a lipid mediator class switching. That is, the same enzyme will first produce PGE2 and then later produce pro-resolving 15-deoxy-PGJ2 and therefore promotes the resolution of inflammation. It has potent inflammatory effects and antagonizes several pro-inflammatory transcriptional factors such as NF-kappa B, STAT3, and AP1, which was stimulating the anti-inflammatory transcription factor NRF2. Being an endogenous ligand of a nuclear factor PPRA gamma, it has many other beneficial pharmacological effects. Interestingly, it's also quite useful for tumor growth, for controlling tumor growth. And currently, there are about 716 papers on this molecule in PubMed. Now, easier said than done, okay? The onset, progression, and resolution of inflammation is a very, very complex subject and is considered to occur in 4 phases, requiring chemotactic cytokines and an intimate partnership among the phagocytes, that is the neutrophils, monocytes, and macrophages. And this is displayed in this picture. So this picture shows basically that the onset, progression, and resolution is a 4-stage process, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. And I just want to draw your attention to phase 4. And the point here is this, that apoptotic neutrophils, when they are picked up by the macrophage and the molecular environment has transformer growth factor beta, IL-10, and PGE2, there's a clearance of apoptotic neutrophils and it promotes anti-inflammatory macrophage response. This is very important. This is not new. In 2003, the same thing was discussed where an apoptotic cell was removed by the phagocyte when the environment was, molecular environment was rich in transformer beta 1 and PGE2 and low in TNF alpha and IL-8. Now, various populations of mature tissue macrophages are strategically located throughout the body and perform important immune surveillance activities, including phagocytosis, antigen presentation, and immune suppression. And as you can see, the names are different, but it's the same cell, okay? So macrophages are very, very important to keep body healthy. Now, a recent paper appeared which shows that macrophage COX-2 mediate efferocytosis, resolution programming, reprogramming, and intestinal epithelial repair. And second, an earlier paper showed the consistent inhibition of the enzyme cyclooxygenase 1 and 2 by NSAIDs drives macrophage towards the inflammatory phenotype by increasing TNF alpha levels and inhibiting phagocytosis. Therefore, the protective functions of macrophage are replaced by their pathological functions. And that is the story, which is the reason for all chronic diseases. And that is looking at the blue blebs and the right blebs. That is this area here and this area here. When you have an early apoptotic cell, phagocytosis takes place beautifully and results into tolerance, and there is no inflammation. But when there is a late apoptosis, there's a necrosis of the cell. It produces several danger molecules, autoantigens, and inflammatory cytokines, and the macrophage now is not happy. It's activated, and this contributes to entirety of autoimmunity. So the major physiological causes of chronic inflammatory disease are failure of the acute inflammation to resolve, accumulation of primary or secondary necrotic tissue leading to unregulated immune responses, failure in self-antigen tolerance and therefore autoimmunity, sustained antigen exposure causing allergies, excessive immune activation or chronic immune suppression, and mitochondrial dysfunction, and a lot more. Chronic inflammatory diseases are the leading cause of death and disability in the United States, and probably in the whole world. There's a tremendous cost involved here. Heart diseases, cancer care, arthritis, obesity, diabetes, alcohol abuse, smoking, pain management, it runs into billions of dollars per year. And people are get hooked to a painkiller like a fish hook. What do we do about it? As I mentioned earlier, the chemokines, there is a chemotactic cytokines that mediate inflammation. We need to regulate them. And this paper in 1998 in New England Journal of Medicine is a classic paper, and I wish somebody more knowledgeable than I am would update this paper. Okay. So chemokines play a dominant role in chronic inflammation, chronic pain, autoimmunity, and cancer. And this diagram was the basis of my entire work, because this work showed that based on the chemokines produced in tissue injury, what cells will migrate there. Same here, as you can see, interleukin 8, it will attract neutrophils. MCP1, eotaxin, rantes will attract eosinophils, T cells, monocytes, basophils. And this list goes on. But the key thing is, MCP1 is common in many of them. As you can see, MCP1 here, MCP1 here, MCP1 here, MCP1 here, is everywhere. Why? Because it attracts monocytes. And we have a very nice molecule in our hands which can control that, okay? So we have used this product in a tremendous manner to help people with the kidney problems, rheumatic problems, with atherosclerosis, inflammatory bodies already discussed, psoriasis, and also even viral meningitis. Now, what do we do? Well, I have developed many products, out of which 12 of them are registered trademarks.
Excuse me, Dr. Narula, I just want to remind you that you have 5 more minutes to wrap it up.
Okay, I'm going to write about right now. Okay, so we have made many products. Unfortunately, we have no clinical data available on them. And these supplements serve the needs of many who have chronic inflammatory diseases where the standard of care has failed. So developing of these products, you see, we have come to a situation where I now described to you the case of a woman who was 69 years old, Caucasian white female, height 5'1", weight this, and she was struggling with a knee pain, very severe knee pain, and she was expecting to get a knee replacement. But unfortunately, she couldn't do it because of some adverse reaction. This woman was suggested a single product to take, and that was called Itis Wise. She started on January 8th, 2008, and she has continued to do it for now 14 years and stayed healthy. And she credits her health to this product, Itis Wise. Now, what is Itis Wise? Itis Wise regulates inflammation. The biological activity, effectiveness, and safety of its key ingredients offer protection to all the key organs of the human body by regulating essential and important diverse parameters such as cell function, cell integrity, vascular protection, growth, and energy homeostasis. When this is achieved, inflammation goes away. And I'm going to skip this because of lack of time, but it should be understood. The role of pro-inflammatory cytokines in the pathology of osteoarthritis is well known, and so is the role of pro-inflammatory cytokines and altered metabolism in synaptic cells play a major role in the pathology of osteoarthritis. So, if there's a hand arthritis, Then we had made another product called, sinew-wise, because they're small joints, and these two products work wonders for people with hand osteoarthritis. Bharatji, I'm almost done, okay? And then this woman who suffered from spinal stenosis, she shows this picture to her doctor, Dr. Kokaya, that this has really helped her. So this is our itis-wise. And then I'm going to skip this. Oh, yeah. Oh, hold on. 1 minute. We also helped somebody with a familiar hypercholesteremia. And this person had nearly become refractory to statin therapy and also had myopathy. High LDL cholesterol and glucose profile with insulin resistance. Low HDL, sorry. I'm done, okay? Low HDL and excess body weight and lipoprotein apheresis if needed. This person was given a product called ATP-Wise and 4 other products. And she was so pleased with them that she decorated these products on her table on Thanksgiving time. And I'll show you this picture. And then I want to show you a last picture of mine. And that is, you see here, that if I've said something today which you didn't like it, so please pardon me, because what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take whatever I mentioned to you in the palms of my hand and offer it as an offering of love to God so that we are free. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Narula, for a very, very elaborate talk. Now I request the audiences if they have any questions. Dr. Manna.
Hello, Professor Narula. See, PPR, gamma, whatever you are telling, whether it's good or bad.
It's a very good thing, PPR gamma.
See, because you in the diabetic condition, you need to upregulate this. Again, you are telling in cancer, it is also related.
Well, you know, the cancer is a different beast, okay? Because in the cancer, you see, you do not want prostaglandins around because it's highly, highly immune suppressive. And in fact, NSAIDs are helpful in cancer. Because in cancer, you see, you need to develop you need to develop a situation where you have an anti-tumor immunity. I didn't have a chance to discuss because of lack of time. Otherwise, I have a full 1-hour lecture on how to generate anti-tumor immunity in a body. Okay, maybe next time, okay?
Hi, Dr. Narula.
Yes.
I have 2 quick questions. I have listened your talk in some other occasion when I was in US, but now I am at KIT University, Bhubaneswar. So my question to you, these products, what you have shown, what is the status of heavy metal toxicity?
Yes, good question.
In these products like lead, mercury, etc.
Yeah, I'm going to answer. See, when we buy a raw material, we get a certificate from the supplier that it is free of the heavy metals. And second, we independently check ourselves by a third party before we supply the product to the manufacturer. Okay, so our products are free of the toxic metals.
And
also free of pesticides.
Okay. And
these products are, you see, manufactured in California, and you cannot manufacture them in California if the products show positive. Their positive is the raw material is positive of pesticides and heavy toxic metals.
Okay, my second or last question. Any of these products are available in India?
No. You know, in fact, even they're not available in the United States everywhere because I don't promote my products. I don't sell them on Amazon.com. I don't sell them on eBay. I don't sell them in many stores. My products used only by doctors, medical doctors.
So I think we have one more question.
Yeah, Professor Narula, I have one question. It's a very simple question that once you prepare any product, it has to grow through because it's you have prepared from the natural sources. So is that these products have been gone through the clinical trials?
No, I already mentioned to you that none of these products have gone through because doing a clinical trial in the United States is essentially impossible.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
There is no climate here for botanical medicine.
Yes.
I think there is one more question.
Yeah, it's a very informative talk. It's not a question about the side effect of a drug like statin. So you mentioned that statin has a lot of bad thing. Still, every day we are eating the statin. And I can tell you that, you know, if you read the story of the statin, in the beginning, statin was recalled, and because of side effect, statin was recalled. Then the scientists in Merck company, they have reduced the dose, and now 30 years we are using the statin again. This is the story of.
Yeah, you know, the thing is basically that statins are the cause of diabetes. So 20 to 30% people who take statins, they become diabetic. Okay. And then when the diabetes is there, then the people start giving them metformin. And metformin is known to increase the levels of amyloid precursor protein. Okay, it's well known in an article in Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences. And therefore, that leads to then Alzheimer's dementia. So it's very unfortunate that somebody has a minor increase in cholesterol, and then they're given statins, they get diabetic, and then they're given metformin. It's a good drug, but it has a problem, okay? And then it causes people Alzheimer's dementia. This circle, you see, is going on, unfortunately, without us looking at it. I'm sorry. We need to look at it with more care.
Thank you, sir.
So I think there are no more questions, right? So if there are no more questions, we thank you, sir, for such a wonderful lecture, and all of our audience enjoyed our lecture. And with this, we will conclude the session.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
But please stay. I think we have to give a token of appreciation, but we have to deliver how we will send.
Yeah, well, you can send it with Dr. Bharat Agarwal. Bharatji, would do me a favor?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, sir. Indeed, it was a very interesting talk. The inflammation-related disease is not increasing in developed countries, but developing countries are also facing this problem. And your lecture is very relevant in the current perspective.
So he'll be taking it to US for him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bharatji. Appreciate that.
No problem. All the
Now,
best.
I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our chairpersons, Professor Agarwal and Professor S.C. Gupta. Thank you, sir, for your valuable time. With this, we are moving towards our next section, next session. And I am going to take the name of moderator for this session. The moderator for panel discussion is none other than Professor S.C. Gupta. Professor S.C. Gupta is additional professor and head in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Guwahati, and he is working in Department of Biochemistry. His area of interest is acidic microenvironment contributing to pathogenesis to different cancers, chemoprevention, role of cancer stem cells, exosomal microRNAs, and long non-coding RNAs in regulating tumor development. He has published more than 111 research papers in internationally reputed journals, and he is a member of several editorial boards. Now I request Professor Gupta, please initiate the proceeding.
ऐसे ही any laptop is fine. एक जून को I think Dr. Mehta is also going to join. ये दवा नहीं हो रहा है। Changes, right? Okay, 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 that is fine. Okay. इसको सेव कर लीजिए यहाँ पे। I think we are having some technical issues, so please bear us with for another 2 minutes. Okay. How about that? This should be online. So, login ID. So I have already informed the site that you are logging. So, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And here we are to discuss another aspect of nutraceuticals. And this is what is panel discussion is. And in this panel discussion, as you can see, we are going to discuss about what are the different success stories related with some nutraceuticals, and what are the different roadblocks that prevent them from going from preclinical to the clinical studies. And for those who are new, especially from those from outside India, I have used here the term Chaupal. So the meaning of Chaupal is basically it is basically a Hindi word, and it relates to the conduct of meeting for discussing pressing issues. And to begin with, as we all know that as with modern medicine, nutraceuticals work also relate to both preclinical and clinical studies. Although many nutraceuticals can produce promising results in preclinical models, including cell lines and animal models, not all of them make to the clinic. And to my knowledge, only few nutraceuticals are approved for human use by regulatory bodies such as United States Food and Drug Administration. So if you see the term nutraceuticals, nutraceutical is basically is composed of two words, that is nutrition and pharmaceutical. And it was coined, the term was coined way back in 1989 by a scientist that is called Stephen DeFelice. And this basically refers to the food or part of the food that produce health benefits, including the prevention and treatment of disease. However, one major challenge with the definition of nutraceuticals is that there is no distinct definition, I believe, and it is generally taken as a part of food supplement, herbal products, probiotics, functional foods, and the nutraceuticals can also be a purified phytochemical like curcumin or an extract containing multiple pure compounds. So if you see the landmark in nutraceutical research, you see in 2010, the global market of nutraceuticals was around $129 billion. Here in 2018, it was $250 billion. And here in 2022, it is expected to be more than $500 billion. And recently, due to this COVID-19 pandemic, the demand for nutraceuticals has increased specifically to enhance the as a immunity enhancer. So, and if you see the leading nutraceuticals, both global and India, these are some of the current nutraceuticals that are leading both in global and India. And here are some of the leading nutraceuticals companies. And if you see the Sabinsa Corporation, that is, they are present here, and they are one of the top nutraceuticals both in India and globally. So So, and as I said that definition of nutraceuticals is little difficult because it also composed of pure compounds containing mixture of compounds. So if you see the success story, here are some success story like 2015 Nobel Prize was given for the discovery of ivermectin, and this is derived from the natural sources. And here are some other success stories like Taxol and camptothecin, and these are also from the natural sources. And rapamycin, this is also another success story. But if you see, based on all these background that we have been discussing in this conference, the people who work in the nutraceutical field, they believe and that the nutraceuticals are ballistically multi-targeted. These are relatively safe. These have been consumed since several years, so their safety is relatively well tested. These are relatively inexpensive and these are readily available, and more than 70% of the drugs that are currently in the market, they have originated from the nature. So these, I believe that these all claims are based on mostly preclinical models. And before we talk, and when we talk about the patients, there are several questions and that require deliberations. For example, are these nutraceuticals really hit multiple pathways in patients? What is the level of their safety in the patients? And the product, we all know that the production of nutraceuticals also requires several processes, and thus are they really easily available and cost effective? So the purpose of this chopal is to discuss all these pressing questions, and we will flow the discussion under these topics. First, we will take some success stories, and then we will ask questions about basic research. Then we will go to the clinical research, and then we will take some questions that how we can bridge the gap between basic research and clinical research. And then we will discuss about role of government and funding agencies, government and NGOs, and then role of industry. And finally, are there some education and awareness program about nutraceuticals? And we are fortunate to have a number of panelists. And here are the panelists. We have Professor GP Talwar is not here. Professor N.K. Mehra has he joined? Okay, not yet. So can you give a call, please?
Yeah, I will do a call.
Yeah, I received a message also that he will join. And then we have Professor Bharat Agarwal, we have Professor B.C. Das, we have Dr. Bindu Day, and we have Professor Lalit Kumar, and Dr. Sunil Saini is also not able to join. We have Dr. Ruby Anto, we have Dr. Ajay Kumar, and then we have from industry Dr. Lakshmi. And obviously we will also engage the audience. So here, before I invite our panelists, I would like to give a brief introduction about the panelists. And here, I think this is myself. I'm going to moderate the session. Currently, I'm working associated with All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Guwahati. And Professor GP Talwar is not here. Here, Professor N.K. Mehra. Professor N.K. Mehra, you all will be aware that he is from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. He is the one who started Department of Histocompatibility and Transplantation at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. And then we have Professor Bharat Agarwal, and I am sure that you all know the contribution of Bharat Agarwal in the nutraceutical research is enormous. The discovery of TNF by his group has made great foundation in the field of information research, and he is a product of University of Delhi. We have with us Professor B.C. Das. He is currently affiliated with Amity University, and you all will be aware that he was the director of ICMR-based institute, that is NICPR, for a long time. Then we have Dr. Day, and she is basically a product of this department itself. And she has been senior advisor to the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. And we have among us Professor Padam Shri, Professor Lalit Kumar. He has been given several awards at the national and international level. He has made significant contribution in the care of patients with hematological malignancy, and he had been professor and head a department of medical oncology in AIIMS New Delhi for a long time. Then we have somehow Dr. Sunil Saini could not join. We have here Dr. Ruby John Anto. She is basically associated with the Rajiv Gandhi Center for Biotechnology, Trivandrum, and she has a long experience of working with nutraceuticals. We have Dr. Ajay Kumar from Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, and he's basically a basic scientist with a long experience of working with nutraceuticals. And then we have Dr. Lakshmi, and she is basically associated with a Bangalore-based nutraceutical company that is called Sami Sabinsa Group Limited. And we have Dr. Gopal Kundu also. He has shown interest to be involved in this discussion, and obviously we will also engage the audience. So with all due respect, I invite the panelists to please grace the dais, and so that we can start the discussion. Sir, please come. Sit down. आप वहां से आप कर So Professor Mehra sir has also joined, looks like. So welcome.
Yes, I have joined. I'm so sorry I couldn't come over there myself. So I'm online.
Okay, sir. So we have started the panel discussion, and here we will start our panel discussion with the success story. And I know we have very good success story with one of the panelists, and she is here, Dr. Ruby John Anto. We will start the discussion with you, madam. And I know you had a recent lead with one molecule called utroside B, right? Which appears to be a potential molecule for hepatocellular carcinoma. This molecule appears to be even more potent than sorafenib, as I understand, which is a kinase inhibitor. And this is approved for the advanced primary liver cancer. So I know you had also transferred technology to a multinational pharma company that is called Q Biomed. And so can you please brief about this molecule and what you basically did different in this molecule that led this molecule from preclinical to the clinical studies? Yeah, you have here.
It's not coming there. Yeah. Yeah. The compound utroside B was isolated from the plant Solanum nigrum. And the compound yeah, I am scared to touch this. Yeah. Can I? So this
Here's
is
the structure of the compound.
The structure of the molecule. We characterized it, and it is not working. That is the problem. Is it? I don't think it will work. Here? No, it will not work, right? This will work? No. Yeah, you can see the structure of the molecule, and the compound had an IC50 of 500 nanomolar in liver cancer cells. And we checked different liver cancer cells. We did not find much difference. The range was from 500 to 50 nanomolar. Then we compared, at that time, sorafenib was the only FDA approved drug. Now there are several drugs. I think 3-4 drugs are there in the market. But so we compared with the activity with this, sorafenib. In vitro, it was 10 times more potent, but in vivo, it was more active, but not 10 times. But we compared the toxicity of sorafenib and this utroside B. Even at 10 times, 5 times the more concentration, utroside B did not show any toxicity to any of the animal studied, while sorafenib was found to be, it was effective, but there was toxicity. There was blood in the stool and of the animals, in the immunocompromised animals. But usually toxicity study we do in Swiss albino mice, so we did not find much toxicity. But when we do the animal experiment, the for example liver cancer xenografts, we found that the sorafenib was toxic. That's why we found that the compound is better, and our compound is less toxic and more efficient. And we did some study with some study going on with for the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease also with this compound. That study is just going on, but we are finding very good activity. It is reducing the accumulation of collagen, then the fat accumulation, everything. So the compound has been patented in US, Canada, Japan and South Korea, and the technology has been transferred to the multinational company QBiomed, and recently utroside B got the orphan drug designation by US FDA. That is the story. Yeah, this is yeah. Yes.
So that is a wonderful lead. And from this success of utroside, it is clear that several factors matter before a lead molecule can be taken into the clinic. For example, it should be fully characterized, and it should be backed by reliable toxicity, pharmacokinetics, and thermodynamics data. And in that context, some relevant questions related to the basic research on nutraceuticals are: number one, are we taking reliable strategies for the characterization of nutraceuticals before we take into the clinic? Number two, are nutraceuticals having defined molecular targets? Are those targets druggable? And number third, what are the advantages of multi-targeted agents or mono-targeted agents? I would invite Professor Bharat Agarwal sir to please, if you can start discussion on these questions.
Thank you, Subhash. These are some very, very important questions, as you can see. And the question is, what is the answer? And that varies who you are talking to. So as you can see, the first question is, are we taking a reliable strategy for the characterization of nutraceutical before taking into the clinic? Any opinion? So I think, in my opinion, apparently the approach that is followed for anything to go in the clinic is you first test it in the test tube, then you test into the animals, and if it works in the animals, you enter into the clinic. And that happens with most of the drugs in journal. So there is nothing specific about this one. And however, there are some exceptions, and probably the most classical exception is in case of this one compound that some of you may have heard of called curcumin. derived from turmeric. And apparently that has gone through several preclinical, in vitro, in animals, and even in the clinic. And mind you, there are over 500 clinical trials that have been done. And it just so happened that we formed a company called Curry Pharmaceutical. And under that umbrella, we approached the FDA for the approval of curcumin, and we got declined. Why did we get declined? That people have been eating curcumin for thousands of years. Why FDA need to approve it? Just go home and eat as much curcumin as you want. And that was the end of that. So apparently FDA had a lot of restrictions that they could not approve it. But apparently all of you know that the curcumin, everybody uses it, and there's not much to say about it. So I will just open up for any kind of discussion if anybody wants to say anything. Before we move on to the next one.
So can we have comment from Professor?
We can speak from here.
I think it is
We can speak from here. Thank you. At the outset, I thank Professor Alok Bharti for organizing such a conference on pharmaceutical and nutraceuticals in the I don't exactly chronic diseases, cancer and chronic diseases. So it's nice that Professor Agarwal has worked immensely in this field and has contributed immensely, and he has initiated the discussion. But it is also a good thing that among with the all stakeholders, rather, the basic scientist, and on my right is the most important clinical persons from AIMS, where everybody knows him in the country and abroad also, and then others who are very renowned researcher in the field of cancer, and also from DVT. Dr. Bindu Dey is here. She has been for life, has dealt with these projects, particularly in cancer field and DVT. So it's an excellent, and Dr. Bharti has collected a lot of good people, and but few people could not attend. Of course, I am forgetting Professor Mehra is there, and Dr. GP Talwar, who is the first to start many of the herbal things. I am party to that. I am participant in several publications on that. But most important thing to realize here is today is to be very free and frankly to admit that there are huge number of people who work in this field, particularly in cancer and other diseases, because I sit in the many of the meetings in the DVT, DST, ICMR particularly, and CSIR, and of recently or earlier also in the UNANI and AYUS and all organizations where majority of the natural products or the nutraceuticals, which are nothing but food or constituents of the food, which have a health effects or which can be used as a good health effects, and which can be used as a ameliorations of the many of the disease, and also maybe many people declare call it can be cure also, but suddenly the 99% of these products are being antioxidants. They are supposed to have ameliorating effects. Even in cancer, it is not cured by antibiotics, but if you take antibiotics, you will have some curative effect in the beginning, but ultimately it will spread and it will go to the logical end. But so that's why, and there is no regulation throughout the country to have a research and to develop a molecule. It may be a the crude extract or the active principle, but everybody does on their own way of own facility what is available. They do it in their laboratory, and the report they do publish in good papers. But the days have gone. Just publish and sleep. You have maybe JBC paper or any good paper you have published, and then you sleep it. The things now. You have to, that is what the success story told, that it has been done, basic study, then gone to the clinical trial, and then it has taken up by the industry. So that is you have to you can do in the laboratory research just TRL 1, 2, 3 at best, but very rarely 4, 5. So this is the TRL 7, 6, 7, then you can go to the industry, and then it could be clinical trial, and it could be in the shelf of the pharmacy for the use of the public. But that doesn't see the light of the day. So this is the problem, that because of the fact that this is, suddenly they have a lot of good effects, and you know a lot of medicines, particularly in relation to cancer and other diseases also, which have come from the herbal products. And there are several examples. The earlier today's presentation, Nobel Prize has come, the UU from China, and Taxol. There are many medicines which has come from the natural products or the plant products. But I think in India there are huge number of populations are working, but there need to be a regulatory body to do how to go about the regulations, that you must do these type of procedures and follow the steps. What are the steps to be done? Everybody know, but then it is not followed properly, and that's why many of the papers are rejected and accepted, but it doesn't go to the logical, the product in the market. And I think I would say, I can say very strongly, if there are a lot of good scientists and lot of good facility has been established, there is nothing that we have to go abroad to do this study. Everything is available in India. And if Nobel Prize has to come, it is long time that Nobel Prize has not come from India. So it is the time Nobel Prize should come from this field only. If you can indigenously develop something and establish some drugs like Taxol or something, great drug from the natural products. Thank you. That's my comment.
Thank you, sir. I think you have raised several important points, and in fact, some of those points we will be covering in next few slides. And as you discussed, the clinical importance of these molecules before we go into the clinic means there just has to be well characterized in the preclinical models. Now here we have some relevant questions related with the clinical research. So the first question is that what are the major roadblocks for nutraceuticals used in the clinic? Second question is, what are the some leading nutraceuticals globally? That one slide I already showed. And why is it so difficult to convince regulatory bodies such as US FDA for the approval of nutraceuticals used in the clinic? So here I would like to invite, we have among us Professor Lalit Kumar Sal, who is a clinician, if he has comment on these questions.
Okay. Am I audible now? Okay. So let me just tell you one story. Now, I mean, often in the clinics, people ask, can I take medicines prescribed by Ayurvedic physician along with the anti-cancer drugs or by homeopathy and so on and so forth? This is a very difficult question. I'm sure many of you who may have somebody who has been affected distantly, and sometimes this kind of question comes, can we take some other medicine also so that the disease can be taken care of? I remember this was somewhere in year 2002. We had one lady who had chronic leukemia. Now, this was the time when
the Gleevec or imetinib, the first targeted molecule which was introduced in the market, and it was on the cover of Time magazine. And this was somewhere in 1909, I think, or 2000. And then subsequent 2002, this drug became available in India, and we had some of the free drugs being given in India to major hospitals by Novartis company with the club with the Max Foundation, who really did such a pioneer job, and that is still being continued till then. The people who were included in those time for the based on their economy and other things. So a lot of patients from our centers, from our institute, and many other major teaching hospitals, they were recruited and they were getting free drugs, and many are still getting free drugs. So that time, this lady, this is just probably a few weeks before this announcement came, the drug became available. She had CML, which are really not kind of very advanced, but in CML you have to take the drug for a long period of time. And now we have some more parameters that you probably can, after 3 or 4 years of Gleevec intake, if at molecular level your CML cells have the BCR AVL has become quantitatively zero for at least 2 or 3 readings, then you can take decision to even stop it. So now for 50% of people can continue to remain disease free or CML free. In remaining, it may come back and you have to restart again. So that's what we have reached to that point today. But drug is very, very safe in the sense that very little side effects. So coming back to this lady, unfortunately, they were rich people. They went for some Ayurvedic to one of the nearby town near Delhi town, and she took for about a month. When she came back, she had severe neuropathy. She could not walk. She had a lot of pain in the legs, admitted in one of the hospitals, and then finally diagnosed severe peripheral neuropathy and probably some, maybe because of heavy metals or something like that. And within, I think 2 months or 3 months later, we had the Gleevec became available and they could even afford it. But she was so scared of medicine, she refused to take the medicine. We suggested, now this has come, maybe you can try this. The side effect of this, and then finally after a few months, she passed away. One of her distant cousin who was following with us, fortunately his CML was progressing, but that time he got enrolled into this, the Max Foundation free drug thing. And this man lived for almost till 2020. So more than 20 years. So like here 7 or 8 years, 92, I think I have in CML. So almost 28 years. So what I'm saying, I'm coming to the point that many times when people ask, can we take the medicines by Ayurvedic, homeopathy or some other, the problem is the same. Like as we have been discussing, we are still not sure. We have genuine people. We have the genuine drug, which we can safely say, okay, yes, you can take. I said, I really honestly have not much idea, but if you think, you believe that this probably okay, you can safely take it. I have no issue with that. So that's the kind of answer we generally come out. So that is the problem in our country, that there are so many people who will keep on advising, keep on selling the drug. And you must have listened 3 days before the WHO alert, the cup syrup in the Zambia or somewhere? Gambia. Like so many children died. I mean, it's such a shame. If one company sells the drug, and I mean, this brings the whole country to such a low level. I mean, internationally, like suddenly the cup syrup, see, that's such an ordinary thing. So unless we really become good at this, that everything, whatever has to be accountable, people who have done mischief, they are caught, they are punished severely, so that nobody dares to do these kind of things, so playing with the health of people. And unfortunately, the medical field, especially the drug industry, number of people are not really good enough. they keep on doing mischief. That is the one of the problem. So I'm sure, I mean, all this really looks very nice when Dr. Narula was giving talk. I've listened to Dr. Bharat Agrawal. So many success stories are, and I know some of the people. So I'm sure these are the molecules which are very, very effective, but obviously it has to be prepared and then given in a safe way so that it does not cause any adverse kind of effect. I think this is what probably I will say at this moment. And
Thank you, sir. Yes, please.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. What I feel is when we are manufacturing or when you're making the plant extract, it has to be consistent. Like plants produce these metabolites at different times at a different quantity. You just take the extract and say this is going to be working. It does not make any sense. You need to have a standardized extract where you can, every time you manufacture, it has the same quantity of the active which is present in it. And then only it will go to the clinics and show you the effect as you have for the drugs. Unless you do that first, we cannot take anything to the clinic without side effect. Or I can tell you from my experience, we do pesticide testing, we do heavy metal testing. There are the number of tests that we do after we make the product is longer than the steps that we probably use to extract the product. So I think this is one of the very, very important basic step before you can take any of these extracts to the clinic.
Thank you. So I think those are very important points. And one thing that we feel here in India as a researcher, that there is a major gap between basic research and clinical research. In other words, between basic scientists and clinical scientists. So here are some relevant questions related to how we can bridge the gaps between basic research and clinical research. Or the So, yeah, I am going to take Dr. Mehra in the next question. Yeah, so here are some questions related to how we can bridge the gap between basic research and clinical research. Are the preclinical findings accurately translated into the clinic? And if there is some data, what % of preclinical studies related to nutraceuticals lead to clinical trials? How we can facilitate or encourage physicians to get involved in nutraceutical research. So here, if you can take comment from Professor Mehra, please.
Thank you very much. Well, at the very outset, I must thank Dr. Alok Bharti and the whole organizing team for giving me the opportunity to participate. I'm very glad to see a very eminent panel here. All of them are known to us for many, many years. And wonderful comments have been made. And you know that the medicinal plants are known to be rich sources of bioactive phytochemicals, characterized by multiple and often pleiotropic activities. And most of the nutraceuticals that we have talked about have mainly been used as a well-tolerated food supplement. And the best example is curcumin, and Dr. Bharat Agrawal did talk about that. There was a time several years ago when Dr. Alok Bharti came back from the US. He had already worked with Dr. Bharat Agrawal, and he was sufficiently curcuminized. And he came to my lab and wanted to see if curcumin could have an important role also in solid organ transplantation. So we were, as you know, our lab was involved in selection of donors for donors for particularly kidney transplant. We did a study, in vitro study, of course, and because many of these patients who undergo renal transplantation are, they have been given a lot of immunosuppressive drugs, and we wanted to see if curcumin could actually act as an immunopotentiator or immunomodulator there. And we did find that has a very important role. So if you look at the scientific evidence now about the immunomodulating properties of at least the three emerging sets of nutraceuticals that we have, including polysaccharides or the fatty acids and the labdane dilterpenes. At least the polysaccharides and the dilterpenes are known to be immune boosters. I think they can be given as a food supplement. And my friend Lalit did talk about his own experience of treating a lot of patients of cancer, and many of them come back to him. They say, "You are giving us very toxic drugs. I lose my hair, I lose this, I lose that. I want to go to now the Ayurvedas and homeopathy." In fact, one of my own family, members had ovarian cancer, and she was treated by him. And when she was diagnosed in 2014, we thought she has a very short life now, about 2 years or so. But then eventually she went on to live about 6 to 7 years. And during that time, she also, heeded the advice of some others and went to also get treatment from the homeopaths and all that. She did well, I must say. Our lifespan was extended, although we knew that it's not going to be too long. And eventually she succumbed to, the cancer. That really highlights the point that there are nutraceuticals or food supplements that can be used. All that we need to do is to work a little bit more on the immunological properties of these. Are they immunomodulators or are they immunosuppressants? Because we also know that the fatty acids like the POFA are known to be immunosuppressants as well. And they can also be used in diseases like autoimmune diseases there. So I think there's a whole lot of field, and I agree with Dr. Lalit Kumar that the problem with these nutraceuticals is that we do not have sufficient data. We do not have solid data to prove the point, to prove the immunological properties of these. And unless we have those, it is very difficult for the clinician to use them as a supplement. Although compounds like curcumin have been used, and we in India eat it every day. You remember that when COVID-19 came, and I was a little more determined to write articles about COVID-19. And my very first article came in the early part of April of 2020, and I had predicted at that time that the COVID-19, the severity of the disease in India is going to be much lower, and we may not have that many deaths. And I had talked about 3 factors over there. One, of course, everybody knows about the microbial load. The population of the Indian subcontinent has been subjected to a very high microbial load. So we have rather broad-based immunity to various viral derived antigens. The second point that I have mentioned over there was about our food, because the kind of food that we eat in India is very different from what the Western populations eat. Our food is a lot of masala, the curcumin, the adrak. All of those things are known to be in one way or the other trying to boost the immune system there. And there was, of course, another factor that I talked about, that the HLA diversity of the population of India is so very high, much higher than the West. The ability of an average Indian to present foreign peptides to the immune system is really that much broad. So those were the factors over there. And we did find in 2 years down the line that the case fatality rate in India was lower than anywhere else in the world. And I think here the food does have an important part. And our food does contain nutraceutical like chemicals. All that we need to do is to define them a little more. We need to do more research. And today we heard, when I was chairing a session in the morning, I was very impressed with this talk by Dr. Hari Kaul about EIF4G1. And he showed that this particular compound is so very good, particularly in prostate cancers actually, and a few more solid organ cancers over there, because this protein becomes very high, and this and when it becomes too very high, when they become too much upregulated over there, the response to therapy, chemotherapy in these individuals is very low, and some of them die actually also. So I think we do have nutraceuticals, and I really want to thank and really congratulate the organizing team for organizing this symposium, primarily addressing these issues, and that might actually also ignite our young scientists over there to look into these and do some laboratory-based studies, the basic science studies, to prove the point that whether they're immune boosters or immune suppressants, and if at all they have to be used as supplement to the ongoing therapy that is being done, how much that has to be used. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Professor Agrawal, sir, can you please add some on the question number 1? That is, are the preclinical findings accurately translated into the clinic, especially related to the nutraceuticals?
So the question is, are the preclinical findings accurately translated into clinic? Not necessarily. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And I tell people very openly that humans are not rat and mice. Humans are humans. And sometimes the studies done in the test tube or cell culture, they work in animals and sometimes they don't. Similarly, some of the studies that work in the animals, they work in humans, and lot of time or most of the time they do not, because the overall physiology, the everything but human is different than say animals or for that matter cell culture. So there is no guarantee that whatever we see in the test tube or cell culture, or for that matter in animals, that it will work in humans.
Thank you, sir. So far we discussed several issues related with nutraceuticals research. And to address these issues, there should be support from the government. And pertaining to the role of the government and NGO, we have Dr. Bindu Day. And here we would like to have her comments on some of these pressing issues, like what efforts are being taken at government level for nutraceutical research and disease prevention. Does government provide support to protect the nutraceuticals of Indian origin? And my second question is that how to encourage recipients to donate resources for nutraceuticals research, and whether the collaboration between academics and industry will facilitate the issues related to nutraceuticals research.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. My thanks to the organizer, because I'm from the Department of Zoology, so it is my alma mater. And then I have experience of funding both the academic institutions when I was in DBT for about 22 years. After that, I became Secretary Technology Development Board, where my job was just to fund the companies, including startups. I'm quite impressed when I look at the agenda, such beautiful papers and all the pathways, systems biology and so many things have been, studied using so-called nutraceuticals. As a policy maker, as part of the government, we always used to have pressure. We have to perform in terms of spending money. That means you fund a lot of projects and also getting something out of the funds that you give. So there was always a pressure that you spend money, but then you get the qualitative results. But, I want to share a few things with all the youngsters over here, in a span of about 22 years, I must have funded about 1,000 investigators in cancer area itself. So about 20% of them were doing, cell-based investigations using different nutraceuticals. For us, conceptually, whether you are going through a modern medicine pathway or you are going through the traditional pathway, they were two very different things, because the regulations involved to us were very different. If I was involved in development of a cholera vaccine, then I have to follow whatever DCGI is stipulating, everything starting from preclinical to clinical, safety in adults, and then going. In case of nutraceuticals, which gradually, was showing some effect, we noted that it was considered by the government as food, as part of, Dr. Bharat Agarwal mentioned as part of the food ingredient. Dr. Mehra mentioned about it. So the pathway to reach that as a concoction was very different. So we were talking to Ayush and other departments. I experienced, conducting curcumin trials. We were quite a bit impressed when in 2003, 4, 5, Dr. Bharat Agarwal was invited and he gave a talk in DBT. That time Dr. Bhan used to be our secretary. And he was doing, a lot of good clinical trial using rotavirus vaccine and other vaccines. So he said, Bindu, study it as a very professional thing. So when we went down, we realized all the claims of curcumin, the formulation, there was no uniformity as far as, the characterization of the formulation is concerned. So my first question is, when you do the, tissue level or cell level data, then do you have the whole profile of the concoction that you are using of whatever nutraceutical? So that was a challenge. So I went to SAMI lab. SAMI lab showed me through HPLC that what is their profiling of the molecule that they have. They have curcumin in combination with piperine, because curcumin is known to be very low bioavailability in GI tract. So you have to have, it's a lipophilic molecule. So you have to club it with some lipid thing. So they do it with piperine. They gave us all the data, and then we took their molecules and did clinical trial. But then we had to struggle a lot with the DCGI for getting the approval. So what I'm trying to say, a nutraceutical to begin with, but you are trying to do a trial through the modern method. So the characterization, whatever lab data you have, 1,000 papers were published even that time. We had to look into what is the characterization and profiling of the molecule that you are giving, and there is no batch to batch variation. The second molecule we picked up was from Arjuna Pharmaceuticals, who were doing curcumin 97% with turmeric oil. And now they're doing extremely well. As a company, they are spreading, all over. So what I'm trying to say is, any nutraceutical you take, the first thing is that what concoction you have in the beginning, to have the lab level, tissue culture level data. Then you go to preclinics. Once we had the understanding that, this concoction has a very standard, characterization in terms of composition, we were not pressurized to do preclinical trial because sufficient papers were available. We straight away went to head and neck cancer in AIMS. We went to, preclinical oral cancer, and then in cervical cancer. Of course, our oral cancer was a positive trial. Due to many reasons in between, other two trials, the data could not be compiled and published, but oral cancer data was published. Even at the histopathological level, the studies were done. So what I'm trying to say is, when you do the nutraceutical study, the first thing you have to understand whether you want to go for the modern medicine method, Taxol, camptothecin, and your molecule. They have gone through the modern medicine route.
Yeah.
But in general, what we are talking today is probably a nutraceutical, which as per the Government of India rule, that is Food Safety and Standard Act 2006, they are covered under that act, and there is an authority of Government of India which defines that what nutraceuticals. So what I'm trying to say is, in nutraceutical, first is the quality of data at the lab level, then the quality of the concoction that you are using, then the preclinical data, then you go to the safety data, what is there, then only you proceed. It's a longish this thing. And when I look into all these things, I'm very much impressed. But at times, though I'm super animated, that zeal of the government official never goes out of our, genome. I feel that you need, as a nutraceutical group, as this group, a governance and a public policy group, where you actually decide what you want to do. Say, for example, there are some nutraceuticals which are impacting your gastrointestinal milieu. I remember in 2002-3, when this Yakult trial was going on in Calcutta, through NICET, I was sitting there, and we all were asked to drink, the small bottles that was not marketed that time. But the trial was done, which was basically a nutraceutical with some microorganisms supplied by the Japanese government, and the trials were done in Calcutta on 20,000 children who had stunted growth due to malnutrition. So you understand what is the define, how deeply when the trials are done, you go and you start with something, you look into all the profiling of cell, preclinical, human beings, and of the product. So what I suggest is that, as an outcome of this, the question, my mind is stick on from bench to clinics. How do you go? You may publish 10,000, 20,000 papers, but
Yes.
if you don't have a distinct policy, for example, out of 4 or 5 regulators, which I took out, 4 of them are regarding nutraceuticals as foods, under food. Food for wellness, food for health, food for better drug response, and things like that. Only FDA is one which considers food and also drugs along with that. And as Dr. Bharat Agarwal said that, they said no to your curcumin. So you have to, as a group, we have to come out with something. Can we create under this umbrella a governance or a public policy group which would decide, okay, which route do we take? We take traditional route or we take modern medicine route? And if we take the modern medicine route, what all data we need? This can be done within a 6 months time. And this is my suggestion, as I said that, we always, former government officials, they remain confined to an outcome of every event that happens.
Yeah.
So this is my suggestion.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Dr. Kundu, can you please add something about the role of government in next 2-3 minutes, please?
Yeah, so we have a lot of discussion. I like to highlight few points. I was just from beginning thinking this, but Professor N.K. Mehra and Professor B.B. Agarwal and now Dr. Bindu, they also raised this issue. I think beginning we are mixing certain things. Developing modern drugs, it goes through different route, and using nutraceuticals, is this act as a alternative medicine or food supplement? So it entirely goes through other route. So we should not mix up this. This is number one. Second point, publishing paper in scientific report or 2 or 3 or 4 impact factor, that does not mean that your compound or your formulation will go to the market and reach to the patient overnight. It's entirely different ballgame. Scientists, all of us, those who are publishing paper, those are different purpose, but some of that may go, but you have to go through several other steps. So now coming to nutraceuticals, as many of them said, and especially Dr. Narula's presentation also, I listened his presentation earlier. So when we talk about that alternative medicine or food supplement, of course, we have to follow certain guidelines, as I also raised and others raised. Heavy metal toxicity. For example, Medical Council of India, now MNC, they file a case to Madras High Court against those company, those who are selling that herbal formulation and nutraceuticals and all allied products, what is the level of heavy metal toxicity, pesticide content? And then this Tamil Nadu and Madras, they banned for a few years to sell their product. It happened few years back. Second point, of course, we need some scientific validation, whatever that at the single molecule level, being a nutraceutical or combination of molecule or formulation you are using, you need some specific target. It may not be single target, whether it's a cancer or other infectious disease or inflammations or immune modulation, etc. You have to go through certain steps, but definitely you no need to follow DCGI and CDSCO guidelines to develop and to establish that modern drugs. There are some regulatory issues. For example, you have to go through some toxicity, acute chronic toxicity, stability, etc. Their pharmacokinetics up to certain level. You need to go through certain thing. You may directly go to clinical trial with a shorter form rather than going through preclinical animal trial with double-blinded clinical trial, etc. Because now I also sit in the part of medical college and hospital with 2,700 bedded hospital at KIMS, KIT University. Last 2 minutes, I want to share just two information with you. Like many of you, I also not only collaborate with US University, Australia, and German, but my experience with Hokkaido University, Japan, South China University Technology, Guangzhou, and Seoul National University, South Korea. What I find now, I'm connected with their activities in this field. What those people are doing, they are segregating people with a different age group. For example, those who are above 55 and above, those have some high risk of developing disease, including cancer. They are studying there some predictive risk factor associated genes and protein, which is associated with either cancer or cardiovascular or other disease. Some of them, they are signatures markers. It is very easy to check the profiling of this. And what they are doing for those group of people, that particular age group of people who are high risk of developing that particular disease, they are giving this combination of these nutraceuticals and supplement as a food supplement or alternative medicine. They don't call modern drugs. So country like India, we should also maybe follow in that direction after following all these guidelines, what are needed, essential component, what are needed to get that alternative medicine and food supplement in the market. Now, last 1 minute, I like to share my recent experience. There is one clinic in Pune. The name is Healing Hand Clinic. Now he has office in Jaipur, Hyderabad, and Bangalore, and now he is having in Dubai. His name is Dr. Parwal. What he is doing, if you go morning his clinic, he has about 125 doctors, combination of MDs and BHMS, Ayurvedic doctor, etc. So he has a patients within India, all over India and Bangladesh and other neighboring country related to inflammatory bowel disease, especially those who develop fistula and piles. He is basically MD, but he does laser-based surgery. This is very interesting. And every day you will see at least 400 to 500 patients coming to his clinic. So it's not a classical surgery, it's a laser-based surgery. He said, you don't need to stay my hospital for 2, 3, 4, 5 days. You come morning time and evening time you walk and you go home. But there will be surgery, laser-based surgery. That is not important. Important is after surgery, he is not giving any single modern drugs and medicine. He has his own factory. He is making all the formulation, including curcumin, with a different composition. And he is prescribing this, each of that 1,000 rupees, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 with a specific tablet form or capsule form, or some of them in a liquid form. So then he realized that he needs some scientific validation. That's why I came in the picture. So now he is sponsoring my research. In part of my research, giving funding, he said, Professor Kundu, can you validate? I have 20 to 30 formulation and I am giving to patient, I am prescribing this. So now those formulation, I have validated few of them. But still my question is maybe some of that need some further characterizations, etc.
Yeah.
But India, you know that you go that this, many people they are using the, but many people they are misusing this also. Go and see and tell me how many of these herbal formulation, those they are claiming it cure hair loss, skin care, weight loss, how many of them worked properly? 90% of them, they don't work. But these are the misuse of these products. So therefore, we have to be careful along with government and our regulatory agency and scientific community, as well as that our industry and clinicians should come forward, have a defined guidelines, how to move it further, and then use this product like the way other Asian countries and other countries are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kundu. Those are all.
I really want to say that we got to be really careful about people coming to the scientific labs, asking for the validation when you're already using on patients.
Yeah, yeah.
They are just increasing their marketing. Exactly. That's not right.
Yeah.
So this should not be encouraged.
That should not be encouraged at all.
That should not be encouraged.
Yeah. Can we have a comment of Professor Lalit Kumar, please?
Thank you, Subhas. I just wanted to add actually to this, like once we have some standard products which we think that could be explored in the market, normally we take the cancer as a general term that, but actually we need to really identify that there are some people now, since the incidence of cancer in India is increasing with our longevity. So we can really identify like there may be some products which may be useful for the prevention in the high risk, people who are like very heavy smokers, alcohol or some other predisposing factors. So maybe that is one group. Secondly, for the prevention, treatment may be very difficult at this stage because that they already treatment for cancer is going on. So adding this, how much is going to help is difficult to evaluate. But the third category could be like the prevention of relapse. So people who have been treated, but the cancer does not come back, so whether they can take some of these medicines for time, and that can be evaluated. And obviously that will need some sort of markers or biomarkers, which are short term, like within 6 months, within 1 year, you know that if this particular marker is changing, and you can say this particular, there is a response to this particular medication. That's one. Secondly, sir just now said that the age profile, like particularly the elderly, because cancer generally disease of elderly, like when we grow beyond 55 or 60, that risk start increasing like anything. So people who are elderly somehow in our population, most of these questions people generally ask us, like especially this is the elderly people, that can I take the some Ayurvedic or homeopathic or some other alternative medicine. So though they are mentally also tuned that those medicines probably are going to suit more to my body than this. So like we can define some of these products in the high age group, and where the conventional treatment may be more toxic actually. So they will be more willing to come forward for getting into these research trials, and especially since they have smoked all through their life, and now after the 65 or so, they want to see whether that can really help them. So those could be some of the subgroups of people, and where we can really target a way that really can help us. And of course, the source, whatever we are using, has to be standardized. I just also tell here, like the Taxol was, as was mentioned in the beginning by Mansukh Bani, the Texas brevifolia, when it was manufactured in India by Dabur Pharmaceuticals, which now Fresenius, they sold it out. So that time they ran, the supply of that particular plant from Himachal, which they were getting, the leaves actually, because you need lots of, many kilos of leaf, then finally you get a small amount of the drug. So those were also the issue. Then finally they found some alternative plant and all that. So that also part has to be really ensured that our source is constant and we have the constant supply of this.
Thank you.
Can I make a very quick comment, please? Give me a minute to talk about.
Yes, sure, sir.
No, I just wanted to talk to you about the G20. You already know that India is going to be the chair for G20 next year, of course. And in fact, India takes over the G20 chair from December 1 this year. And this G20 has about 8 engagement groups. One of the engagement groups is called Science 20 or S20. And this is coordinated by the Department of Science and Technology through the Indian National Science Academy. And I, being the Vice President of the INSA for International Affairs, so I coordinate the Science 20 activities. And the theme that we have chosen, and the theme is to be chosen by, of course, the host country, who's the chair. The theme for 2023 S20 that we have chosen is Science for Inclusive and Sustainable Development, with about 4 tracks, 4 very important tracks. And one of the tracks that we have talked about is the holistic health. And that track will talk about also all the developments that have been done in the field of Ayush. There are a number of technological developments over there. They have used the modern systems as well. And I think that will be a great opportunity for us to expose the G20 countries to promote and propagate the, the homeopathy and Ayurveda to them. And we'll be very happy if any of you would like to sort of collaborate or sort of contribute some paragraphs or so, because the S20 engagement group is actually a policy document. We will, at the end of the year, will create a policy document on holistic health. Of course, the other 3 tracks are there. They're different. One of them would be on connecting science to society. But under the holistic health, and I think here we talk of One Health, where not only the human, the veterinary sciences, the plant-based sciences, and taking health as a body as a holistic approach, and where you not only treat a disease through the modern systems of medicine, but I think there's a lot that we can talk about from the Ayush based as well. And the nutraceuticals over there will play a very important role. We'll be very happy to include a paragraph or so in the recommendations over there. And please feel free to contact us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think those are all important comments. And Dr. Lakshmi, you have already made comments about role of industry. You would like to add few more things about about this question. Are pharma companies willing to support nutraceuticals clinical trials? What basically industry aspect from the academic institutes before spending on a lead molecule? Would you like to add few more things?
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Before that, I would definitely like to thank Dr. Professor Kundu. I also agree with him, because plenty of these Asian countries, and especially Australia and all, they have their own regulatory requirements. Even if you have to sell a nutraceutical in that country, you need to have a dossier which needs to be prepared, which has all the regulatory requirements written down in a very proper way. Like, you need to follow that. Only if you fulfill all those requirements, you can sell those products there. So in India, it's not like that. We don't have any such requirement when it comes to nutraceutical. Nutraceuticals are not taken as drugs. So we sell them, like, even when it comes to our company, we sell them as a supportive therapy, or probably something which is a supplement, and not as a cure. And we don't advertise anything as we can cure it. We say that, okay, we may be able to help you, but it is not a cure. It is not a drug. So there are certain, we have two products which are going through the drug category, and there we have followed the complete DCGI protocol and the regulatory requirements. So there is two different pathways which are running parallel. One is the drug pathway and the other is the supplement pathway, which are totally food and supplement.
Yeah.
So that's something which we need to probably look at before you go further. And coming to whether we will support nutraceutical clinical trials, see, we are coming from an industry. So you should, if it is our product, we will definitely be supporting any clinical trial that you do for us.
Oh.
And you take somebody else's product and say you support, probably not.
Okay, that is a fair comment, I believe. I think that is.
Yeah.
There's another model, you take technology transfer, somebody license the product.
Yes, of
to
course.
you on the basis of the license fee and the business model that, whatever marketing is done, what is the percentage share.
Yeah,
that licensing is done normally.
Yeah. That is, of course, it is done. You want licensing is, of course, it is absolutely no issue. But yeah, I'm very sorry. I'm very.
I think discussion can go on and on. And here.
And yeah, and we are open to collaborations. That I can make that statement. We are very open to collaboration. If you want to work on any product, we are ready to collaborate.
Thank you. So I think discussion.
I think I would like to add, because it is important. There are, I think, all important points have been discussed, but we are back to the square again. If you say it has two tracks, then it is not been acceptable by the modern medicine person to use other things, because it has inherent problem of your, not just what Dr. Kundu has mentioned, and also Dr. Kumar has mentioned, Lalit Kumarji. So it has a lot of this, the heavy metals and all contamination, but also the pesticides. And also you are collecting, you have no control of the standard or your quality control and quality standards, because you are collecting in different time of the year and you do not know what is your standard. If you prepare now, this is working all right, even as a supplement, but the next packet will be, the next batch will be that or not. Who is controlling it? This is, it has a quality control. There is no quality control, because you collect in different places wherever it is available and different season of the year, any different season. So it will vary the quantity of the effectiveness of that. If you see the bark or leaves or a fruit, it depends. So it's a best to best variation is enormous. And if you say that two routes, that one route go in it as the standard Ayurveda Unani, every alternative medicine system says that we cannot go for a regular modern medicine clinical trial. It has a lot of problem. I do understand there is a problem, but then how does those who are the modern medicine person would allow it to what Dr. Lalit Kumar has initially told, how it could be given. But within, if it is with very quality control is there, regulation is there, there is no regulation, no quality control in this country that you can do. But there are some drugs which has gone with the DCGI permission in they are herbal products, like it is Himalayan drugs and some drugs. So it has to follow some, then it can be used as a supplement. So as it was told a lot about the curcumin. Yes, I work also on curcumin, but then curcumin has to be used. It has a wonder molecule. It has an effect, but you have to be careful which curcumin, what type of curcumin. Some indication, Dr. Bindu has indicated. I was also part of the DBT's the curcumin study also. But this is important that when you use this is that you have to understand something. If you have developed, as Dr. Kundu has said, it is coming. I know every day or every week I have got at least a dozen people are coming, approaching. You just have this compound and you test it. So you keep on testing this compound, but where it goes, it has no end of it. That you cannot, where from he is collected, what is its sensitivity or quality control, nothing is known. So that is why I am telling it is we are back to the square. So we have to have that regulations in place. So that is some organization should come up. It has been a lot of times DBT and other people have done a lot of meeting with the BHU. I remember long back, 2 decades or 3 decades back by Jamini Tripathi, who was the medicinal chemist, and he is now left, and he has even Dr. Narula, who has he has given the drugs in his own name, Narula product, something he has given the name. It is whole country is full of these things, but whom to believe? But something or the other benefit is there, but then there is no control. There is no quality control.
I think those are all important points you are discussing, sir. And can we have now quick comment on the education and awareness program about the disease prevention and early diagnosis? And I think Dr. Mehra is still online. So if we can have some comment about education and awareness about disease prevention and early diagnosis.
I think, Subhash, all of those points that you mentioned over there, all those 4 points are really very important. Should we start early in the schools and colleges and things of that sort? Definitely, yes.
But here the problem is about the time. We are running out of time. So if we can have your comment on.
Yeah. No. What I was saying, I wanted to congratulate you for really bringing out those 4 very important points. And we need to really start from the school itself, the program that you talked about, the MD, PhD and all. I think some progress has been made in that respect. Over there, we have been also talking about institutions like AIMS should also have a department of Ayush, so that people can, the 2 systems can meet and all. But these are all talks so far. Nothing has been done so far as yet. But I had the opportunity of interacting with the Secretary of Ayush, and I think things are changing. And you will see some change in the next few years or so. Definitely, like Hippocrates said, food is your medicine. Actually, there are certainly definite compounds in our traditional systems of medicine that are really very useful. It's only that we do not know how to use them, how to combine them with the chemo drugs and all. Our clinicians like Lalit would be hesitant to use them because they want to use their own drug, because they know the system. They know the action of that drug. Other drugs, the actions are not known yet. So I think those are the areas that we need to talk about. And therefore, I made a comment right in the beginning that many of these food-based nutraceuticals are actually supplements. And we need to find out their properties. We need to find out their mode of action in terms of the immunity, host immunity. And that is really very important also from the point of treating cancer as well. So those are my initial remarks on all of those points that you mentioned about.
Thank you, sir. I think those points regarding the last point, since I joined All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Guwahati, I'm trying to push the START MD and PhD joint program, and hopefully we'll be successful. And I think we can keep on discussing more and more, but because we are told to finish now, I would like to, on behalf of the organizers, I would like to conclude here. I would like to thank all the panelists for joining us, for sparing their time with us. And with this, we would like to conclude the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, Professor Mehra, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you,
you know, sir, we have one colleague in Department of Anatomy, Professor Deka. She happened to be your PhD.
Oh, yeah, she's my student, Runmuni Deka, Runmuni.
So that is the reason I was.
And she has now become the dean over there.
Yeah, see, and I am basically helping the research section as an associate dean of.
Wonderful. Good to know. Good to know that. Yeah. Runmuni is my student, a very good student. Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
I think that we have to have a token of appreciation for some of the people?
Yes.
Please proceed. Please
Now-
don't move out. We will have a general body meeting immediately after that. Okay? So please stay inside. We'll have a very short general body meeting immediately after we felicitate some of our
Before
guests.
that, we
Yeah.
have felicitation
Yeah,
of
please, go ahead.
panelists. So I would like to request Professor Agrawal to felicitate Professor Lalit Kumar sir.
Brother.
I would like to request Professor Agrawal to felicitate Professor B.C. Das. Sir, please come. Now, I would like to request Professor Agrawal to felicitate Dr. Bindu Day. Now again, I request you, sir, please felicitate Professor Subhash C. Gupta.
I think he has been planning about this panel discussion since, I think, 3-4 weeks back. It was a wonderful panel discussion. Really appreciate it. ये बच्चे वापस can we just proceed for a general body meeting? Thank you very much. Yeah, I think you had your momentum. So she has already delivered some talk somewhere. Yeah. Thank you. So please wait for the dinner. There is a dinner, please.
मेरे को गुड़गांव जाना है, पहले हॉस्पिटल जाऊंगा, फिर वापस.
थोड़ा कुछ लेके जाइए. एक काम करते, there is some snacks, so थोड़ी देर आप रुक जाइए. Have some snacks.
That's okay.
Oh,
Thank you so much. आपने इतने सारे
so nice.
Just
So
came
nice
for
of you. You are coming with such a brief. उतना देर तक. Yeah. Please. Yeah. Please have a.